Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios, this is York's Local Sports Show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Welcome to I already messed it up right off the bat.
Game Day with GameTimePA.
Thank you. Christian's got it good. Christian,
hey!
We got some play-by-play yesterday.
A rowdy start.
Anyway, fellas, great spring day here at the new People's Bank Stadium. Is that what we're calling the Revs?
People's Bank Park.
People's Bank Park.
But I just want to say, so we're walking into the stadium today, I bump into Brandon outside. Brandon's like, they changed the name. I'm like, yeah, 6 months ago.
Yeah, Brandon, and I wrote that story.
Yeah, I definitely paid attention and read that.
Help a brother out.
Yeah, it's called. Just Google it, you'll find it.
As long as it's not Santander or whatever we used to call it anymore, it's fine with me. And I don't know how they turned Santander into some French name. It just sounded too much. But anyway, we're here in York. It's a great, beautiful day outside. We're talking spring sports. Spring sports got underway last week and this week. Teddy, Christian, how you guys doing today?
I'm great. I'm thrilled to be here.
Teddy's got a new mohawk, a new faux hawk.
I got a new faux hawk. Yeah, things are great, man. Can't complain one bit.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Loving the nicer weather we're finally getting.
Yeah, we got some good weather. Me and Christian are heading out the Red Line after this. We're going to watch some more lacrosse. We did some lacrosse last night. Did the live stream from Susquehannock High School. That was a great game, great time. We'll talk about more of that later on. We're going to dive into, like I said, some spring sports, baseball, volleyball, lacrosse, softball, track, all on the docket today.
Oh, Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
We didn't touch on that.
I'm fantastic, man. I got up today, felt good. Woke up at 11, 12 o'clock like normal, and hit the ground running. Got did some video work, did some work stuff. We're good to go. Some other stuff going on today or yesterday, depending on when we're actually.
Well, if you watch our live stream from 2 to 3 on Wednesday, and we're going to be on the radio typical 6 to 7, and we really should say this actually. We decided in the spring to rock the live stream 2 to 3 on Wednesdays moving forward for our loyal viewers out there, because obviously Thursdays are a very heavy day from a scheduling standpoint. You guys are out and about. Luckily last week, someone's banging on the wall next to them. Luckily last week, Sipe was there and he did it was awesome to have Jim on the program. But
nice.
That was 4 to 5, but we just figured for the entire team to have some flexibility, 2 to 3 was the way to go. So those who enjoy watching us on our live stream, we're not going anywhere, just a different time, 2 to 3 on Wednesday. And who knows, if it works out better that way, maybe we'll continue doing that in the winter. I think it has the potential to be good. There is literally someone doing like construction next to our studio right now. They got the jackhammer out. But yeah, that's the deal. And we will be on 6 to 7 on the radio as always Thursday. So check us out there
awesome.
as well.
So Wednesday, today for a live stream, West York's hosting a Cross Out Cancer charity event. The boys and girls lacrosse team playing each other. They're switching sticks, so the boys will play with the girls' sticks. The girls will play with the boys' lacrosse sticks, and the coaches are changing. So Rodney Tamblin will be coaching the girls' team. Anyway, all proceeds from that go to raise awareness for breast cancer. 2 moms on that team are battling cancer right now, so it was a big thing for them to get that done. And a lot of people are going to come out there. So if you're not doing anything, stop by West York for that for sure. That should be a fun event.
Totally.
That's their first one. It's their first time they're hosting it. Two students, 2 players put it together for their senior project, actually, and it's done really well. They got T-shirts made. Both teams are hyped about it.
If you can't get out there, too, you can follow us on Game Time. Chris Dunn, our photographer, is going out there. She'll get some great images.
She'll get some great pictures for sure, definitely. Other than that, like I said, the sports we got underway. There's some surprises so far, especially in the cross. We're going to talk about that. Baseball off to a good start. Spring Grove Northeastern had a heck of a game yesterday. We're going to dive into that. Some big softball notes going on. Some other talking points. We're going to discuss a big story Christian's been doing, kind of what it's like for a parent to coach his own kid in sports. Christian's been working on that feature story for a while now and putting that together, and we're going to ask him some thoughts on that later on in the show as well.
I have a question for both of you. New season. As a sports writer, you guys are obviously both huge basketball guys. I know that for a fact. And Christian's a huge hockey guy as well. So it's not winter sports. I know you guys are hooked on hoops for sure. But when you go into a new season, how do you feel? I mean, is it a breath of fresh air in a sense to get out to something different, and also outdoors when the weather's actually, the sun is shining today? I mean, what's it like from your standpoint and your mentality when a new season gets underway?
I think each season had its own kind of electricity before it too. Like when football season's about to start, you get really anxious for football season. Then when basketball starts, there's so many storylines in each sport to watch. And so many things you get excited about. But it's more even seeing the people, like seeing the lacrosse coaches and players again that I haven't seen since last year. And same thing with the baseball. And those guys are always excited to see you. That's a lot of fun, and it's always fun at the beginning of the season because it's fresh. Everyone's 0-0. Everyone has a chance this year. Everyone's excited about something this year, so it's very good. But by the end of the season, you're not burnt out, but you've seen it all at that point. So something new coming in is definitely
breath of fresh air.
Definitely breath of fresh air.
What do you think about your first spring?
Yeah, no, it's first of all, it's nice just to get outside and it be nice out and warm. And we've gotten, I know when I was talking to some of you guys before, that typically sometimes it can be wet and rainy at the start of a spring season, and we've got some really great days the last week and a half, really.
This entire year, the weather, there was one bad month where we got dumped on, but other than that, we've lucked out.
Yeah, so, I agree with Brandon. It's nice to get out and see something a little different now, get back outside, enjoy the fresh air, and, for me, just to see some more of the local teams that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, there's nothing like sitting outside to watch a baseball game, particularly when the final score is at 19-18 and the game's in 5 hours. Those crisp 4-3 games are great.
The 4-3 games are fun, but I've seen baseball, lacrosse so far outside, and it's the weather's been great. It's been a lot of fun to see that so far, and it's fun to cover something outside as long as it's comfortable and warm.
That's
rain.
a key component.
Yeah, last year was a lot of freezing rain when we first got started, so this year's been a lot better. Game balls. Who you guys got for game balls, Christian? Who you got?
I have Tess Clancy. We obviously covered the Susky girls lacrosse game against York Catholic. Now, she did get lit up pretty badly, but on the other side of that, you could say she didn't have a lot of defense. She made a couple big stops during that game when it was still relatively close, and York Catholic was really trying to run away with it. A second varsity game of her career. So, the fact that she really showed no fear, she deserves a game ball for that. And Patrick Dougherty of the Red Line baseball team, 3 for 4 in their season opener, an inside the park home run, a double, and 4 RBIs to start the year. So he had a pretty good start to his season.
Yeah, I saw that stat line. That was pretty impressive. And Clancy, like you said, she made some saves from basically this far apart last night on Casa Grande, who's a great player as well. And she made some really good saves. She kept them in that game for as long as she could. That game really should have been a 6-7 goal game at one point. And she made some outstanding saves, and that was one of the positives Coach Marshner said afterward. But we'll talk more about that one later on. Ted, do you have any game balls to give out?
Well, first I'm going to give a game ball to both of you for the live stream performance yesterday.
Thanks, Teddy. Thanks,
Teddy. No, it was like Marv Albert Mike for Teddy. No, you guys did a great job, and you guys are back on there tonight, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
4:15 at Red Line, Dallastown, Red Line, boys lacrosse. It's been a long time since Red Line beat Dallastown. Big rivals. Red Line hasn't gotten a win in that series since 2011, 2012.
I guess in order for you guys to get my game ball for the week, you're going to have to perform at a peak performance.
We're going to have to do our best Daryl Henry impression tonight.
100%. No, that's a great call.
Shout out to Daryl Henry.
Yeah, shout out to Daryl Henry.
But is there really any doubt that we're going to knock it out of the park again? You can go ahead and give us a game ball now, right?
I just don't want you getting complacent.
No, never that.
From a student-athlete standpoint, I got 2, as always, a girl and a boy. First for the lady, I'm going to give it to Braxton Redinger.
You took mine, Teddy.
I'm going to save your thunder, actually. She just scored her 200th career goal for Newark.
Yeah, 20 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
UMBC commit. I got a text from Alabone who saw her for the first time last night. All I said was, she's really, really good.
Yeah.
Great analysis.
Yeah, and she obviously, an amazing analysis from Alabone. 20 goals in 2 games. She's a great player.
She's a great player.
Get that feature going, Alabone. So that's mine, taking Brandon's thunder. And then from a boys' standpoint, I'm going to hit up Colby Schimmel, Eastern York Baseball. Dude, so it's a 5-inning game, right? They mercy ruled the team, the 10-run mercy rule. The dude faced 16 batters total. He struck out 15 of them, and he surrendered 1 walk. I think there's a big year in store for Schimmel. Now, he teams up with Brandon Narr on the mound.
That's what I'm saying. He might not even be Eastern's best pitcher, which is the scary part. Like, Narr's a Notre Dame
commit. I think
commit.
Narr's a left-hander. Yeah. Nasty stuff. So,
and a Notre Dame commit. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's a pretty nasty 1-2 punch. So, they were great last year. They're going to be great again this year to come out and to literally blow away the competition on the opening game of the season. Big props to him. So he got my game ball also.
Yeah, and I was talking to a Central coach, Mike Valencic, baseball coach, about Eastern, and he said when you have a team like that, or even Spring Grove with kind of Brooks and Sager, when you have just 2 good pitchers in high school, you're set, because it's not like an MLB rotation where you need 5 guys. You get 2 or 3 decent pitchers in high school, and you're good. You're hard to beat.
And even in softball, all you need is 1.
Yeah, softball you need 1.
It's crazy.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, Delone showed that last year. You can throw a Rick Road out there every game, and she's got to have a 1.3 ERA.
Look at not to branch off the local scene, you look at the College World Series, you literally have like a great team just ride 1 pitcher all the way to the national championship. But it's true. If you have a couple big arms in base, they got what it takes, man. Schimmel and Nar are straight nasty. And the high school baseball scene historically is pretty good around here, so I'm excited for the year to get going.
Yeah, we got a lot of D1 commits, a lot of big D1 commits, so we're excited about that. My game ball, I'm going to Jack Gemmel for Red Lion Lacrosse, 2 goals, 5 assists against one of the top teams in Lancaster, which is always tough for the York Adams teams to go against them. And he kept them in it once again as long as he could. It was a 2-goal game with about 3 minutes left, and then Lampeter Strasburg kind of ran up the score at the end. But Gemmel kept him in it, 7 points total. He wasn't getting much help from the other attackers. Dasher ended up with 4 goals. Colin Manman gets a game ball, 8 goals last night. That's big. Dorian Fasher scored 7 goals for Susky last night, also game balls. And yeah, I was going to give one to Reddinger. 20 goals in 2 games. She says she wants to get to 300 for her career, so she would need 100 more this season. But the pace she's at now, I think she can do that.
How'd you think Red Lion looked in their first game?
I think it's always hard to judge a team against a Lancaster team like that.
That's why I kind of asked.
Yeah, I think they held their own for a while. I thought it was kind of Sam Emmig's one of our best scorers in the league, and he was held without a point, a goal or assist. But Gemmel looked great. Alex Keogh played great in defense. They had Matt Hale, who's playing his first varsity start in goalie, playing he's playing a team with 2 Division I commits, and he held his own. So I thought for most of the game they looked all right. Their biggest issue was their face-off. They lost 16 of 24 face-offs, so you can't get a possession, you can't score. So overall, I think they looked all right. I think today will be a better gauge. I think Dallastown, this might be a little step back here, so I think this might be Red Lion's chance to surpass them. But today will be a great gauge to see where they're at.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun for you guys. I wish I could go.
Yeah, the weather's great. Both teams have some brand new uniforms that are really cool. I showed you Dallastown's. They got the old English.
Those helmets are fly.
Yeah, they got a matte gray helmet with some old English writing. It's gonna be pretty. Those are pretty cool.
It's always, and whenever Dallastown and Red Lion meet, it's always
in any sport. It doesn't matter.
Any sport, it doesn't matter.
They could have a spelling bee, and that would be pretty heated.
I was thinking chess or something. Anything's cool.
How about our athletes of the week? We have some athletes of the week.
We do. So Doherty won. Red Lion baseball. Christian hooked him up with the game ball. 3 for 4 double dinger, 4 ribs.
Dinger, 4 ribs.
Lions beat Hershey Thursday at Horn Field. So he got the nod there. And then from a girls' standpoint, hang with me here. We have Addie Billings, Central York Lacrosse. Senior led the team with 7 goals. Panthers opened the season with an 18-1 win over Conestoga Valley on Thursday. Billings scored 62 goals last year for Central. So
she scored 4 more last night. She's got 11 in 2 games. She's probably Central's best player. I
just want to say we had really good voting, too. Fans can go and vote on this every single so basically the polls go up Sunday evening, late Sunday evening, they go up every late Saturday evening or really early Sunday morning, so fans can go on starting then and vote. They close Mondays at 5. We had over 1,200 votes on the boys' side of things, so Doherty got a bunch of votes. Is it Caton Yantic, Central York?
Caton, yeah.
So he got a bunch of votes as well. Schimmel got a bunch of votes. So there was a big turnout for that, and over 755 votes for the girls too. So
I think
solid turnout for.
I think the spring athletes have sat around for 6 months watching the other athletes get their shine. So they were excited to get out there and hit the polls. I saw a bunch of people tweeting about it, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, like you said, every Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Get out there and vote, and we'll do it again next week. And I'm sure Reddinger will be back up there next week if she keeps scoring 10 goals a game.
100%.
That'll do it for the first segment. I got this new handheld mic. I'm trying to get used to it. I feel very Eminem and 8 Mile-ish right now. So I
got hooked up with the friggin'.
Teddy got the good one. I got the B Rabbit 8 Mile freestyle one right now. So we're gonna tape it together and see how we can do in segment 2. We'll see you on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
Sure, the Revolution Baseball Club owns this radio station, but let me take a moment to reassure you. There's no gratuitous rooting for the hometown team.
And the Revs have won this game!
No hype.
This crowd going crazy!
We just give you unbiased calls
Unbelievable!
of every Revs game this season.
This game's over!
Nope.
Swing and a miss!
No homers here.
It is gone!
All right, maybe a little.
And let the party begin!
The Revolution plays here. The new Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
And we've got a Breathe Right strip controversy now heading into the Belmont. How come nobody in the annals of horse racing history thought to define whether or not you can wear a horsey Breathe Right strip? Isn't this the equivalent of a hood scoop on a car?
Your quarter panels are up 1/8 of an inch higher than mine. That allows for a little aerodynamic mess underneath the vehicle.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Come to the coolest place in town and learn to play hockey or figure skate at the York Ice Arena. The York Ice Arena Arena offers a Learn to Skate program for skaters of all ages and abilities, directed by ISA and USFSA qualified instructors. Skating classes range from beginner to freestyle. Hockey classes cover the basics of the game. All classes include free skate rental and 5 free skating passes, so you can try out your new skills. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. Host your birthday bash in group spaces or with a private ice rental. Public skating at the York Ice Arena is available afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Skate for just $7 and rent your skates for just $3. Plus, you can save with discount passbooks. Oh, and ask about gift cards and kids' prepaid debit cards. So if you're looking to learn something cool, come to the coolest place in town and learn to skate at the York Ice Arena. For more information and to register, go to yorkskate.com.
Money and business are essential to the strength of a community. So is cheering and celebration and music and fun. That's why York Revolution games, concerts, youth sports, special events, and more happen at a place called People's Bank Park. People's Bank has been serving York County for more than 150 years. Always cheering, always celebrating, always committed to the things that make York County great. And to you having a great time at People's Bank Park. People's Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is the Dan Patrick Show. Mic check.
Dan Patrick.
He's Ben Roethlisberger. Heinz Ward told me that he would lie to stay on the field. So he said, "Look, it's our job to deceive to get back in there." Have you done it?
Yeah, I have. I think I did a lot more when I was younger. I think now with all the stuff coming out and all these players and the things that are happening, I think the awareness has been raised, the level has been raised. So I think it happens less frequently. But I think for the most part, players are taking it very serious when it's a pretty good bell ring.
Are you hit differently now than, say, first 2 years in the league?
In what ways? Like, are defenders hitting me different because of the rules?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I've always taken, it's good and it's bad. I think that officials have allowed play to kind of play on a little bit. I don't think their whistle's quite as quick with me.
I love it. The Dan Patrick Show.
On Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your county, your teams. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day of GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350. Time to talk some baseball. And boys,
you nailed that one, Brandon.
Volleyball, thank you. I practiced that one in my head like 6 times before we came back. Once again, I'm Brandon Stumberg, Teddy Feinberg, Christian Armour here. We're going to talk some baseball here. Big story out of yesterday. Dallastown with a huge 15-3 statement domination win over West York. Our guy Zach Miller had the preseason rankings up before the season started. He put Dallastown West York at 4-5, and then Dallastown showing that there's a much bigger gap than that with a 15-3 win over West York. West York introducing a new coach. We know we thought they might go through some learning curves.
I think Dallastown's a first-year coach.
Dallastown's new coach too, against his former team. Actually, I wrote about that. I forgot about that. Dallastown's coach was an assistant in West York, and he gets to go back and beat his old team.
It's a statement win.
It's a very big statement. Anytime you beat a program with as much tradition and much success as West York, you beat them 15-3. That's a great early season confidence boost for Dallastown.
First-year guys, and you're trying to establish something there at your program, and there's no better way to go out. There's no better way to establish something than go out and do that right out of the gate.
No, that was a big win for them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at those two teams. I mean, West York obviously has, like Teddy said, has a very strong tradition of winning and a first-year coach, but also early on, and kind of what me and Brandon talked about yesterday with lacrosse, is that sometimes these early losses are good for some of these programs to 100%. Get that out of the way. And, and I'm sure that's the way they're trying to look at it early on in the season. You know, it's one loss. Dallastown obviously isn't a pushover, so, I mean, this is a game where you take from it, you learn from it, and you just get better.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think early in the year, you always. I've said this seriously since the show started a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I've always said, I've been saying this for I said this 150 times, but a team is always judged in my mind, or a key litmus test is not how they start, but how they finish. Mm-hmm. And I believe that in all sports. I think quality teams, good teams, well-coached teams get better as the year goes on.
No doubt.
I would rather I would never want to lose 15-3 for starters. But
in 5 innings, too. They mercy ruled them.
I'd rather look bad early, and then by the time the postseason rolls around, say, hey, you know what? We're hitting our stride,
right.
Then to look good early and to tail off at the end.
And I mean, when you have a new coach and you're kind of going through some turnover, there's going to be those little hiccups early on.
100%.
So I mean, I think that's kind of what this was.
And Nick Parker picks up the win there for Dallastown. 4 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts, no walks.
Hold on a second. Is that Randolph Parker's son?
I don't know. Is it?
I think it is.
Randolph Parker, as in Randy Parker?
Absolutely, I believe it is.
Well, hey, there you go. Shout out to the Parker family.
If it is, shout out to the Parker family. 100%.
Another big game yesterday in early season battle. We wanted to check out Spring Grove Northeastern. Northeastern's a lot better than people expected them to be. I think they're definitely a team to look out for, and they were looking for a statement win early. I mean, even just taking Spring Grove the distance like they did is big.
It was a good game. That's that crisp game we're talking about, the 3-2 final.
3-2 final. Northeastern led 2-1 heading into the bottom of the 7th, and Spring Grove won, I believe, on a walk-off walk. Matt Brooks pitched 6 strikeouts for Spring Grove. The UNC Charlotte commit against Adam Kipp, who's been a great pitcher so far from Northeastern. Cody Reeser's on that Northeastern squad. A Towson commit. They're going to be really, really solid this year, and it would have been nice for them to hang on and beat Spring Grove to kind of show where they are, but even taking Spring Grove the distance like that with how good Spring Grove is going to be this year and how good Spring Grove is, that's a pretty big early season.
100%. I mean, I'm looking at the line score here, up 2-1. You're going to the last inning. You let it slip away late, but you were right there at the bitter end. Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, you know what? Again, you give yourself a chance early in the year. You're in a tight ball game early on. Test yourself a little bit. I'm all for that.
I'll see Northeastern Friday. They host Greencastle Antrim, a pretty solid team from the Franklin Fulton League. So we'll see how Northeastern bounces back. Yeah. Central struggles early so far this year. I saw them in their opener.
That was not a good game.
No, that was not. They played Waynesboro, and they gave up. I think it was 15 hits. I think what it was, 5 walks. I mean, they couldn't get anybody out. I mean, they were 4. I think they had 5 pitchers.
They lost 15-3, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they gave up 15 runs, 14 hits, 5 walks.
Score.
I mean, they had 5. They ran 5 different pitchers out there. None of them did much better than the previous one. And Coach Valencic knew before the season that Central can hit. Their issue is going to be pitching, and that did not look good in the first one. I mean, and opening day jitters or whatever you want to say, but Bo Burris, their ace, went out there and didn't pitch well, and then they threw 4 relievers out there and trying to get something going, and no one did much better than previous ones. So their pitching is going to be a big issue for Central for the rest of the year. A team that does have good pitching, we talked quickly about them, Eastern, Schimmel and Nar already dominating so far.
They actually won 6-5 against York Catholic yesterday as well.
York Catholic's a really solid team.
Yeah,
that's a good win.
That's a good win, and then on York Catholic side, way to compete. Schimmel and Nar both threw in that game. Looks like Nar came in the 6th, so you kind of get the back end of the bullpen coming in there. It's pretty nasty.
Nothing like a Notre Dame commit coming into 6 innings.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's some nasty stuff coming out of the pen. But like I said, always good. Historically, a pretty good baseball area, and I think we have some pretty good programs rolling out here.
Oh yeah, we did some stories in the offseason about some D1 commits. I think some Dallastown kids.
Holtz Apple committed to a D1 pro. I think it's. I want to say George Washington University.
Let me ask you, you're at the Red Line game.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on them?
It was an interesting game. Speaking of pitching, Red Line and Wyatt Tyson had a pretty good outing. Briar Lauer came in to relieve him in, I want to say, the 5th. Wyatt Tyson got himself into a jam early on, runners in the corners, managed to find a way to work himself out of it, and Red Line, I mean, they exploded offensively. They got 10 runs. We talked about Dougherty before, 3 for 4. But their pitching looked very good. They managed to hold off Hershey, they didn't really give him too much to work with, and Lauer, when he came in, he was in another gym. Tyson had come out with the bases loaded, and Lauer came in and managed to only give up 2 runs in that. They managed to get out of it with only 2 runs, and the Red Lion comes away with the early season win.
It's big time.
And Red Lion plans to be right there with Spring Grove in Division I, right there. Northeastern wants to be up there in the league. New York Catholic, Eastern, Dallastown, we saw is going to be solid. And the league is going to be pretty solid top to bottom this year. League playoffs should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that they always are competitive, and I don't expect this year to be any different. And I'm a huge baseball guy. I just love that. I love it when the weather gets warm and baseball gets rocking. So I'm all for it, man.
And they've had some great weather so far. The wind was an issue when I was out at Central, but it was really affecting the outfielders. And we saw that in the LL League, too. I think our guy Andrew Callahan did a story. Some team had 10 errors yesterday and still threw a no-hitter.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Jump into the boys volleyball section now. Christian, you're going to be there tomorrow. Big Central York Suburban early season battle. York Suburban is ranked 6th, I believe, in the state in AA to start the season in preseason. Central's only 2 years removed from a state title run. They're changing coaches. They go from Brad Livingston to Goodling. Goodling's been there for as an assistant for a long time, and he said that Livingston never made him feel like an assistant. He's kind of a head coach already there, and he's kind of stepping up and taking the main role now. So what are you expecting from Central, and what do you expect for this game tomorrow?
Suburban and Central, Matt Alabone, who did our preseason power rankings for GameTimePA and boys volleyball, has them ranked 2 and 3. So it's going to be a battle of 2 very good local volleyball teams. It's good that Goodling comes in, having been with the program for a while. He comes in having been an assistant last year, so it kind of eases that transition. These guys are familiar with him. They have Hayden Wagner and Carter Luckenball coming back to lead the team. So I'm expecting Central and York Suburban to be a good game. I think I'm really intrigued to see how they've responded to the fact that Livingston isn't there anymore, how they've reacted to that sudden change, because you remember the controversy that went with Brad Livingston being fired from Central from football and volleyball. So I think this is a real test of Central's character, because for all intents and purposes, Brad Livingston was loved among those kids. And, some teams may respond differently to such a rocky transition like that.
Now, you did a preseason Q&A with Goodling. What were your initial thoughts? Obviously, they stayed in-house, and one thing that Coach Livingston did do, at least from my understanding, was he was a big delegator. On all his staffs, he really, and you alluded to that, Brandon, but what were your just initial impressions upon speaking to Coach Goodling?
Well, it's going to be the first time in a long time that Brad Livingston's not on the sideline, and Goodling he made it known that he's not going to change. He's not going to change anything. He's not reworking the entire ship by any means. He's continuing. I think his quote was he's continuing the legacy that Livingston started.
Sure.
It wasn't that Livingston always delegated. It was that Livingston made you feel like you were also a head coach. It felt like Central had 2 or 3 head coaches. So
that's great quality.
Goodling, the title changes, but Goodling's been there, the entire time. But yeah, he wants to make Livingston proud. He has no problem saying that, regardless of what the controversy was at Central. He wants to. He wants at the end of the year for Livingston to be able to say, "I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of what they did without me." It could be a small step back here. Central loses a lot of big pieces. Suburban, the other team we're talking about, is kind of on the rise, so they're kind of heading in opposite directions. It could be a good gauge for where they are at different points in the season. It's great to see a big early season matchup. We saw it in lacrosse, some of these big games right off the bat, in baseball too. Some of these matchups right off the bat. No, don't waste your time, easing into it, playing a Division I versus Division IV team or whatever it is. Jump right into it and play a rival and play a big team.
I'm all for it.
I love it.
Yeah, it gets the engine revving early. Staying on boys lacrosse, obviously Northeastern. Yeah, I think they may have opened on the road last week. I think they have their home opener tomorrow. They're hosting Kennerdale. Northeastern's going for their 4th straight.
Boys volleyball we're talking about.
Yes, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. Northeastern's going for their 4th straight PIAA championship.
And it looks like they had a big win over Sagertown last week, who was one of their top state competitors, and you're already beating a top state competitor.
They're loaded.
They're loaded, and it seems like this group has been there forever, and they have. They came up together, and they have an Ohio State All-American commit, and Reese Devilbit's still there. He feels like he's been there for 6 years now.
6-year senior.
Yeah. It's just these guys have been so good for so long that it seems like they've been there longer than they have, but their whole roster's back. Our all-star team could basically be Northeastern. It's ridiculous how loaded they are. And I did a story in the off-season. They took that high school team and went and played club ball basically on the national circuit and reached nationals as a club team. And they're playing like LA, San Diego Metro all-star teams and they're just Northeastern High School.
It's like Miami Beach, Redondo Beach, York, PA.
Yeah.
It's just
and these other states, like they're playing like the Florida State All-American, like the state All-Stars. Like Florida gets their entire state together and gets an All-Star team, and York or Pennsylvania sends Northeastern High School at them, and they're holding their own. They're top 20 in the nation on the club circuit, which is insane. But yeah, a fourth straight title looks very much in reach, and they got off to a really hot start. And I mean, they're the champ, but they're not the champ anymore. Someone's going to beat them, and no one's going to do it anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, they're rolling. So, again, the spring sports, we bring some championship medal to the table, and that's always a nice thing. And I think that when you consider Northeastern, you consider Central, both in boys volleyball, you consider some of the baseball programs here. We haven't even touched on softball. I think there's some very good softball in the area.
We'll talk softball in the next segment.
Yep. So, we're hoping lacrosse can continue making strides. So I think there's some things this spring season to really look forward to if you're a fan or a follower of any of these programs.
Yeah, as a whole, it's getting a lot better across the board. Like you said, baseball's talented in this area. Boys volleyball is obviously huge in this area. Lacrosse is growing, as we see by 2 new teams getting added next year with Dover and DeLone.
100%.
Softball, we've had some big Division I commits in recent years, and another one, Alyssa Lawton, this year going to George Mason. So yeah, it's a little all around. A lot of talent, a lot of fun to see, and a lot of great weather to get out there and see it. We'll talk some more. My favorite sport. We're going to talk lacrosse after the break, and if I allow it, we'll talk some softball and track after that. We'll see you after the break.
So it's York Revolution baseball season.
And good! A walk-off home run! That's a double play! Unbelievable! And the Revs have won this game! Are you kidding me? This crowd going crazy! Can you believe it? Cue up the cannon! This baby's over!
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. The Revs play here. Sports Radio 1350, WOYK.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Previously on the York Revolution pregame show.
Everett George is our interview guest. Everett was signed up. Was it the whole homestand?
Yeah, the whole homestand.
And which was how many games?
7 games.
And you lasted in your role how many games?
1 game.
Have you been fired anywhere before?
Never. Post-game meal came down, and it was pulled pork and beans. I said, well, where's the buns? Where's the soda? Where's the water? And the coleslaw didn't come down till after everything was out. But I know what I can do. I can make a meal better with pulled pork, with beans. That's the reason I got fired, because I asked too many questions, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they did me a favor. I don't have to. I can have 6 days off.
Revs Baseball on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Here in a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Now we're having a party, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is good old-fashioned fun.
And it's right here on WOYK.
Oh, man, is this stupid.
Welcome back to Game Day of GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350. I'm Brandon Stoneberg, Teddy Feinberg, Christian Arnold. We are going to talk about parents coaching their kids. Christian, you've been working on the story for 6 years now. You talked to many coaches around the area about the perils of coaching their kids, or the successes or benefits of coaching their kids. What have you learned?
Yeah, no, I mean, besides the fact that some of these kids have graduated college and now have families. No, I mean,
well played.
It has been an interesting topic. I know we've kind of touched about it here in the past, but I mean, there's so many things that, as someone who covers sports, and even someone who just follows sports, you don't necessarily think of, because you're not in that situation. Yeah, I have friends who even are in that situation. The things I didn't think of, just the situation you have between the let's say it's your mother or father coaching you, the kind of confrontation that can cause between their spouse. That can happen sometimes. Obviously, if it's a father who's the coaching, a daughter or son, the mother usually is the more obviously the motherly one in that situation. And if they're not getting enough playing time, if their coach comes down a little harsher on them, that could create issues at home, and where you have to kind of have those conversations with your spouse about why you do certain things and why it's handled a certain way. And sometimes that can be tough. And then too, just being harsher on your own kid on a team, it seems like, just from a lot of the coaches I've talked to, it's that they tend to lean that way more than favoring their kid. They're a little harsher on them because, whether it's intentional or not, they want to shy away from that perception that possibly they're favoring their own kid. So that can kind of cause a little problems every once in a while. And I mean, you think of some of the coaches who are coaching their own kids. You can see how that could be an issue. So it really has been an interesting process to kind of explore this issue, and it's definitely, it teaches you a lot of things you wouldn't have thought about in these situations. And obviously, I think it's normal for people to, when they see this from an outsider's perspective, they go, that shouldn't right. That you kind of go into it thinking a parent can't objectively look at their own kid, and I think to a certain extent that's true. But I think what I took away from it is more that can happen, but objectively, when you look at it, sometimes they're not favoring their kid. Sometimes they're just being harsher on their kid to try and set a precedent.
But either way, it can be a tightrope to walk.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can say this right now. I would have a hard time doing it if I was a parent. Especially in 2016. It's harder to coach now. We see that all the time. Think about all the coaching turnover we've seen this offseason.
I mean, there's so much more pressure on these coaches now with everything.
It's just another wrinkle.
And I think too, with some of these coaches, they've gotten out of some of those situations because of who their kids are. James Brooke, his kid is Eli.
He's the clear-cut best player.
The best player on the court.
Yeah.
Don Dimoff, his daughter's Courtney. I mean, she's the best player on the court. You look at a lot of these coaches who coach their own kid. Even Marshner, his daughter Rachel is one of the best players on Susquehannock. So I mean, you look at a lot of these coaches, and two, the other interesting thing is when you look at the situations they're in. A lot of these kids grew up around their sport, so naturally, the reason they're so good on the team is because they've just basically been surrounded by it their entire lives. So it just almost comes second nature to them. A lot of them, for them too, it's made that transition easier because it's not like if I started playing a sport and my dad just started coaching me just like that in high school, it would be a little awkward. We wouldn't have that same repertoire you have with someone you've been coached and you've seen as coached basically since birth.
Yep.
And we've seen some of our best players, like you mentioned, have been coached by their parents. Like on the basketball this year, both league champions, Demoff, Brooks and Brooks, Spring Grove and Red Lion.
Pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
In lacrosse, Marshall's one of the best players in the league. She's coached by her dad. And girls basketball, Closter's coached by her dad. She's one of the best players in the league. So you see that around. The only sport I don't think I've really seen it is football. I haven't seen many coaching combinations in football.
You saw Wiles, didn't you?
Wiles, yeah.
That was a couple years ago.
That was a weird situation too. Steve Wiles was coaching at DeLone. His son Jake Wiles was coming into his senior year at quarterback. Jake tore his ACL and tried to play through it, and Coach Wiles kept putting him out there, or Jake kept going out there, and it was weird because when Wiles was out there, you knew he was handing off. And then they brought Schermeyer in on throwing downs, and the fans didn't like it, and Wiles ended up leaving after the season.
Yeah, you're kind of showing your hand there a little bit.
You're showing your hand, and that kind of rubbed people the wrong way because if he's playing hurt, he has a torn ACL, he shouldn't be on the most likely shouldn't be on the field.
Really serious injury.
But yeah, he could only hand the ball off really, and he kept playing, and people were kind of. We never really heard from Wiles on the situation, but people kind of made their own assumptions and thought that he was just throwing him out there because of his son, and things went downhill for him.
Again, that's one of those situations too where right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying you run into issues.
Yeah. Right, and I mean that's the biggest thing with any of this, and kind of like you said before, coaching, especially in this current climate, is such. It's almost like a game of Russian roulette. Who at the end of the season, who's going to be there and who's not? Because for whatever reason, you could have a good season, you could have a bad season. If certain things shake out the way they do, whether your season doesn't go as great, whether you have players or parents who don't necessarily like your coaching style or like the way that you run the team, you may or may not have a job next year.
It kind of opens yourself up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, again, if it's clear cut and obvious, I mean, no one's going to argue with Eli and Courtney. I mean, they're great players.
Troy Sowers, I talked to him after a game when they played Spring Grove, I think he may have had one of the best comments about that. And I asked him, for you as kind of an observer to this, would you ever feel comfortable doing it, or would you, if you were James Brooks, and you had those people maybe thinking that he's getting favored because Eli's out there, and Troy came back and looked at me, he's like, if people are complaining that Eli is being favored, I mean, they're just nuts. Because, I mean, he's the best player out there. He should be being favored. He should be out there getting the ball. So, I mean, I think that speaks to what you're saying about coaches whose kids just happen to be the best players. They kind of can, they can skirt some of those issues that may or may not be there.
It's a little bit easier, I would say, in that respect.
Yeah, parents are extra critical now anyway, so that the favoritism, they're going to be quick to point that out as soon as they see, a coach's kid staying in the game a little bit too long, or a coach's kid getting, an extra speech on the sideline, something like that. I'm sure they would be extra critical for sure.
Absolutely, and I think too it helps, again, going back to the fact that they've been there so long, that not only just for the son, the daughter, whatever the case may be, you also have the teammates, especially in an area like this where usually if you're playing at a varsity level in a specific sport, basketball, lacrosse, any of those sports, football, usually you've been playing with the same people or you've been coaching the same kids for such a long time that it's almost second nature that that you don't necessarily have that conflict too, because everyone's accustomed to who you are, accustomed to the style you run, accustomed to the situation at hand. So I think that too, setting the stage early on, coaching the same group all the way up from when they were younger all the way to where they are now, it definitely makes it easier as well.
That's a good point. You wonder how many people start coaching their kid like right when the kid enters their sophomore year of high school. It probably doesn't happen that often.
My dad coached me like in t-ball years and maybe coach pitch years of baseball, and then after that he handed me off to somebody else.
Exactly.
And for some parents, that's just the way you got to do it.
Yeah, I think my dad taught me how to catch the fly ball. He taught me how to make solid contact. He taught me how to run the bases, and then he said, "Get away from me."
Yeah, then he let somebody else take care of it.
Exactly.
But yeah, that we're definitely anxious to see the rest of the story come out. There's things that I wouldn't have thought. I wouldn't have thought about the spousal thing either, but I can see how that would cause some tension. I know my basically like a stepdad when I was in middle school was coaching my like rec league basketball team, and every car ride home was awful. I hated it.
Go ahead.
And he made me run extra sprints at practice. It was just it went the complete opposite way.
But the thing with that too, it's exactly the same thing as parenting, because when you're parenting a child, sometimes spouses have different views of opinion on how to handle a situation, and it's almost the same thing. So even if you're not a coach, you can kind of understand that dynamic, because if you're a parent to a kid, you kind of know what happens. You kind of know you're going to run into some disagreements every once in a while.
Let's just say
you got to be able to turn a switch off after practice.
Let's just say there's some things you'll say on the practice court that you're not necessarily going to say on the dinner table. I think that's safe to say.
I think talking to the Brooks family, I think they kind of said they don't do much talking about the games once they're at the dinner table. You can let that stuff go afterward. It's family time at that point. We're going to start wrapping up here, guys. Live stream stuff. We have once again Dallastown at Redline Boys Lacrosse 4:15. Wednesday, so today for the live stream in an hour. Big battle. Dallastown's won 7 in a row against Redline. Both are expected to be top 3, top 4 teams in the league. Big time rivals at Hornfield. Great weather. It's gonna be a great time. Tune in. Me and Christian Arnold will be there with the live stream stuff, and you can watch the whole game. That'll be it for this show, guys. We'll see you again same time next week.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thank you.
Later.
First in York. First in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.